It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears up!
Welcome, everybody. This is Ears Up Podcast. Coming at you from a hot Oakley day. But, you know, we have beer and air conditioning. I guess we're fine, right, Bev? What's that? Sorry, I unmuted you.
We good.
We're good.
We're
good. All right. We have a good show for you guys today, as always. And I say both of those things all the time, but I always mean them. Brian Schar, our friend. He's friends with everybody here in the room.
I'm actually your friend. It's
You're
crazy.
actually my friend, yeah. I was going to say close personal friend. I was like, well, I could just say friend, and that seems more genuine. I'm on a genuine kick. Terrence isn't here today. And so I'm trying to be genuine with Terrence, and then I'm not being genuine.
You did a really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Brian Schar is here, and we're going to discuss Disney patents. We're going to go through a little bit about what actually a patent is, because even though I have one for Coveyears, go to getcoveyears.com. I don't really know, especially in the realm of what it means in relation to Disney. You know what I mean? Because they have so many different arms and so many different things they can't have patents for. But I think what you're going to do, Brian, is you're going to take us through some of the patents for some of the rides even, go through all that kind of stuff. And I was looking through your outline. I'm fascinated. I'm really excited about it. We've touched on patents a couple of times here and there, like in the news or maybe history of the ride stuff. But I think, like you said in your outline, what I think it's going to do is going to enrich everybody's experience a little bit more, I think, when you go to the parks and you say, hey, you ride the Matterhorn. You know, that's kind of the more famous one where it's like the first like tube and track thing or whatever it is. We're going to get into some of that finite detail. This is the Nerd Show.
Well, I'm a nerd, so that's actually it works out really well.
I'm excited for that.
So, yeah, I think this will be a lot of fun.
Me too.
I'll try to stay out of the weeds about the details and just kind of focus on the cool aspects of some of the early animation technology, the Disneyland technology, just some things that people may not know about.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be a really good show. And for all you people who are like, all they do is talk and they don't really get to the point and they're just friends talking, this show's for you. This show's for people like that. Right, Beverly?
Yes.
Yes. I feel like everyone's super low. Did you turn my headphones down by chance?
Probably.
Turn my headphones up. What? I can't. It's too loud now. Turn them down. Turn my headphones. Perfect.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's great. You did great. Thank you very much.
Obviously.
Does it go to 11?
Well, that's the question. The underlying question that we will always ask. Yeah, Terrence has some family stuff going on. He might call in later. We're going to find out. But more importantly, we are, for you Patreon people who are listening live who haven't yet looked at your email or looked at our Facebook page post thing, we are trying for the first time, Beverly, the very first time.
The very first time?
The very first time. First time in forever? Is that a song? Is that a Disney thing? Is that a Disney reference?
For the first time in forever.
Oh, God. Brian fits
I have an
in too
11-year-old
well.
daughter. Hi, Ruth.
We are going to be live streaming the secret show after this.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
Because I think it'll be cool. I want to add some depth and some like value to that. I want to overvalue $5. I don't know why.
How do we? Well, yeah. First of all, yes. But secondly, how are we doing that to just?
So if you are a Patreon supporter at the $5 level or more, go to the Patreon page and there's a post just for you that gives you the URL for YouTube. And it has a chat room, so y'all can chat with each other. You can chat with us. It'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun.
I actually think this is a great idea.
I think it's pretty cool, too, right?
As far as your ideas go, this is a good one.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Before we address the neg that Beverly just gave me.
It's no Mattercorn, but it's pretty good.
Man, I'm telling you, someone will draw the Mattercorn, and we will put it on a T-shirt, and I will buy it, and I'll give it to Sam. This episode, of course, is sponsored by Getaway Today, Disney's top wholesale partner. They'll help you plan your Disney vacation with the best tips and secrets, all while making it affordable with their discounted tickets, reduced hotel rates, and layaway plan that lets you pay as you go. Head online to getawaytoday.com/earsup and start planning your magical vacation. Don't forget to mention Ears Up Podcast sent you and use promo code EARSUP to save an extra $10 on your Southern California vacation package. I do want to bring this up real fast. I was going to do it in the news, but it's pretty relevant now. So I get emails from the people at Getaway Today, and here's a good one. They have a sale going on. Check this out. You can get a 4-day park hopper for the gate price of a 3-day park hopper. So what I think that means is it's park hopper upgrade. So if you're going for 4 days,
we talked about this.
Yeah, I think that's
It took
pretty.
me a while to get it.
That's an amazing deal.
I think that's pretty cool, and it's valid. You've purchased by June 26th, so soon. Valid for travel through December 31st, 2018. You can purchase it separately or as part of a package. Anyway, if you have any questions, just email them or whatever. But go to getawaytoday.com/earsup, and they'll give you all the details on that. I think that's pretty cool, and it's just one of the things that they can do because they are the only place that we've ever found online to get discounted Disney tickets.
I mean, I feel like they actually are the only place.
Yeah. I think so too.
We're going in November, hopefully.
Oh, we are too.
This is, really? We're
Yeah.
in November.
Oh crap! I forgot.
Probably around the 13th.
We our last day is the 8th.
Okay, we'll probably just not overlap. But
You'll be
this
there
is
with
how
Terrence.
Oh, cool. This is how effective advertising is because I heard you say that, and now I'm going to go look at that when I get home.
Perfect. I would appreciate it. Speaking of looking at things, you can find us on social media, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Any feedback on the show goes to Taryn at earsup-podcast.com. Any show suggestions or guest suggestions or, crude drawings of anything goes to Terrence at earsup-podcast.com. You can say hi to Beverly at bev at earsup-podcast.com. And anything else comes to me at Jason at blah, 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 blah. If you want to support the show, and why wouldn't you, go to getcoviers.com and buy a pair of Coviers. Actually, we have an order today for the We Wants the Churros. So the shirt that I'm wearing right now, the new shirt, I threw it on a pair of Coviers, and people seem to like them. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. You can go to Patreon, of course, patreon.com/earsup. You can tell your friends about us. That's really the best way. Well, let me backtrack. Patreon is the best way. Be a Patreon supporter. Give us money. But tell your friends about us. Get on forums. Spread the word. Share our posts. Do all that kind of stuff because it really helps us get those subscriptions, get people subscribed to us, and rate us on iTunes and do all that kind of stuff. Okay, Taryn, do you have any feedback?
I do.
Please go ahead.
This is a follow-up. Mackenzie on our last show wrote in and asked us all for help with her surprise trip, sort of a surprise trip for one day, and it was 6 people. And what does she do?
We gave her all sorts of, I think, semi-conflicting advice.
Sort of. I think the general, what it all came down to was don't stress. I think one thing that we all said was it's summer, you're going for one day on a Saturday, try not to stress out.
Exactly.
That was the kind of the core. So
and if I remember correctly, I apologize, it was a Saturday in June, and we were kind of all mocking her, Brian, for going on a summer weekend date. We're like, it's going to be miserable. It's going to be crowded. So why don't you just chill out and realize that you're probably not going to get to do but 3 or 4 rides. So don't worry about it.
I used to live in Los Angeles back in the day, and in the 90s, it was impossible to move. I mean, you literally couldn't move at Disneyland on a Saturday. I can't imagine what it's like today. And my only advice would have been just don't even bother showing up till 10 p.m. because it'll be open till midnight. And that's all the little kids have gone to sleep.
Yeah.
It's cooler. You'll ride more rides between 10 p.m. and 12 p.m. No kidding. At least that was the way in the 90s. You'll ride more between 10 and 12 than you'll ride between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Oh, absolutely. Because that's all the kids have gone to sleep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and so Mackenzie followed up.
She did.
With our advice. So what did she have to say?
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
So we got back yesterday, and I just listened to the Opinions podcast. For one thing, I am not 21, so we couldn't go get drinks.
Wah, wah, wah.
I had a feeling.
We said that. We were like, she's not even 21.
What you eating, Bev?
Some cheese. I was starving. I was like, oh my God, I need to eat something. Swiss.
Okay, for one thing, I'm not 21, so we couldn't get drinks.
That was water.
Bev's
cracking a cold one.
Cracking cold ones with the boys. Let's go.
That was water.
Tall cans only.
Oh man. So she couldn't go get drinks, but we did check out the line to Carthay, and it was huge.
I bet. I called that, by the way.
Yeah.
Not that I'm some genius, but I was like, I bet you anything that line for Carthay is going to be massive.
And probably not worth it, honestly. But
hard to say. Let's slow down, Taryn.
Is there another can I can crack? Sound effect.
that's a valid point.
Yeah.
For the second thing, for a Saturday in June, we did everything. We only went on 2 lines without fast passes.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
So luckily, no Pixar Pier, so no one was in DCA. It made it pretty easy to get around.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for a day in June, it was overcast and cold, so we avoided the heat.
Oh my
I
god.
don't know how she got so lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like tantamount to the day where you go and it's raining.
So most of the rides, because most cars fit all of us. Oh, that's really cool. Because 4 out of the 6 of us have birthdays within the same week, we got birthday buttons, and it was
Nice.
probably my favorite part because every cast member we would pass would wish us all a happy birthday, and someone would be far away but would still see the button and just yell happy birthday at you.
I love that.
I do too.
In all, I think we just got super lucky. We got a super lucky day with weather, and even though I would have loved to see Pixar Pier, it not being open made our lives way easier in our decision making. But doing one day both parks is hard. They tend to run the rides way faster because they're pushing people through so fast. Some rides broke halfway through, so you miss out on some. And in all, we walked 19 miles.
That's insane.
Woof.
So it's possible to
Nice.
do everything you want to do. You just have to super commit. Thank you so much for your feedback. It really helped, and and she attached some photos for us.
Cool. First of all, I think we've tried to do like with a Google Fit or whatever, the app, and I think we've done like 8 one day, and we were dying. I felt like my knees were just bone on bone contact. I was like, I can't do this.
Well,
I could 19.
I
Yeah.
feel like I've
Where did
gotten,
you
I've
park,
gotten
in San
12
Diego?
miles before, but that's my max. Like,
Well, and that's when I
Woof.
mean, even at 8 miles, you have to take your ibuprofens before bed, or you're gonna wake up and you can't walk. Like,
literally every day after
Yeah.
Disneyland, I wake up and I'm like,
Yeah.
those first 3 steps are like,
and like your toes are all cramped going to
you
the
can't do
bathroom
it.
at night. Like, it's bad.
Yeah. I can't imagine that. But
Terrible.
I'm glad that it worked out for you, Mackenzie, and sorry you weren't 21. But
Yeah.
Our advice would be much better, and you would not hurt as much. Maybe if you were.
Maybe later.
I think you're missing one of the
she's
other
a-
very lucky things that happened to her. Is if Pixar Pier is closed, she missed Mickey's Wheel of Death.
Well, that is
That's
true.
We have a piece of news about that because they had like a press opening day or whatever for that, and so people are talking about. I guess there's some new things going on.
More
with that.
deathy things.
More
on the Wheel of Death.
more deathy stuff. Here's something interesting before we get into the actual show.
Taryn's Thinks.
So I realized the other day I was in the shower and I realized that I absolutely despise washing my face, whether it's at the sink or in the shower. Like, I actually hate it because you have to close your eyes or you're going to get soap in your eyes. And in those, 10, 15 seconds, I am terrified that I'm going to open my eyes and there's going to be somebody there ready to attack me. And then
Taryn's Thinks.
Oh, sorry. Was there more?
No, not
Okay.
really. Except
Yeah.
that I think that you almost did that one day. Like,
I tried to do
feel
it
like
one
you're
day.
kind of starting to do that. Jason does this
No.
thing where we both do it, but we try and scare each other if we walk into a room and the other one's like already in there or something. Like, you walk in quiet and like my thing is I go like this because
No one can. You have to explain what you're doing because this is a podcast.
I know it's so you hold your hands up with like claws.
Like a monster,
Like
like
a
a
monster.
Nosferatu, the classic
Yeah.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Or, if you're cool, the werewolf dance from Teen Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
or a bear. I see a bear.
Hey, bear.
Hey, bear.
So if your eyes are closed though and you're facing the sink, if you open your eyes, wouldn't you be looking in the mirror?
Yeah, and then you see somebody standing behind you.
In the shower.
behind-
apparently, or something.
gotcha.
Or
I
in the
don't know.
shower.
She's weird.
It's very scary.
It is
So
very scary.
I think the same thing. Somebody in the chat room is saying, "Didn't you have this think before?" Like I feel like we've either that or you've been afraid of somebody being behind you in a
So-
mirror or something.
I thought that too. So maybe this is now the thing.
Well, it's literally clearly you're afraid of closing your eyes and opening them.
Well, yes. I do think I had this one before, but I checked. So I'm going to blame Matt, who's
Okay.
our historian, our
Okay.
Ears Up historian, because I checked.
Okay.
And
Are you saying are you accusing Matt of not being on the ball and not
Yes.
I don't think it was the same. I don't think it involved washing your face. I think it had something to
washing
do.
your hair probably or some weird
no,
nonsense?
no, it was like
I'm afraid of sleeping because
looking down at your hands, like when you're washing them, and then looking up in the mirror. I just remember you being afraid somebody's going to be behind you, and then Terrence was like, "Oh, that's my biggest fear." It was a whole
Well,
thing.
I'm afraid of a lot of things, like taking out the garbage. Like I always think Freddy Krueger's going to be chasing me back, like in the dark. Like I'm actually
he
really
can't
afraid
chase
of.
you because you're not sleeping.
I know, but
Right.
in my head, it doesn't have to do with dreams. It's just he's there.
just there. No, I get it.
Okay. See, I'm just more afraid of skunks taking the garbage out and coming back in because we have skunks in our yard.
Yeah.
That's much
after
more
dark,
valid.
so but still, like I picking up what you're putting down.
Brian's very practical.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much, Taryn. I appreciate that. All right, Brian, let's hit some Disney patent talk, huh? What do you think?
All right, I think that would be great. That's Brian's think.
So, what exactly is a patent, and why does Disney chase on them all?
So that's a great question, and I think I'll start off talking about the three types of IP, the three major types, and just go over in a very high level of detail. So the three major types of IP are copyrights, trademarks, and patents. The trademarks are primarily consumer protection. It's something like Walt Disney or Disneyland or Starbucks, right? And the point is that if you buy goods with that name, you want to buy goods that actually are made by that company to a certain standard of quality. And the standard of infringement is likelihood of confusion, right? If I buy Starbucks brand socks, I don't know why you would do such a thing. I would expect they'd come from Seattle, from organic fair trade people happily working away downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
Instead of something made by, I don't know, somebody else.
Right.
So copyright covers creative works, right? That's art, books, music, things like that. And it's essentially what it says. It's a copyright. So the standard of infringement is have you copied a substantial chunk of somebody else's work. And we could spend an hour talking about what does that mean and sampling and hip-hop and so forth. And if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, just Google Steamboat Willie and copyright, and you'll keep yourself entertained for about a full day with everyone's opinion about copyright term and what copyright means and so forth. So that could be an entire show itself, but we won't get that far today.
Wow.
So patent has to do with inventions.
Okay.
It can also be design. So you talked about your Cuvier's patent. So that was a design patent. It's a little more like a trademark or a copyright, and that's based on a particular design. That's why
Okay.
it's called the design patent, and
Right.
that's defined by the drawings. Most patents are defined by the claims, and I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
What a patent is, it's just an exclusive right to make, use, or sell something in a given country. U.S. patent, you have exclusive right to make, use, or sell in the U.S.
Okay.
And it's kind of like if you own a house. If you own a house, you don't have to live in it. You never have to practice the subject matter of your patent. But if someone's squatting in your house, even if you don't live there, you can call the sheriff and get them evicted.
So you can come up with, I have a patent for a better door lock or whatever, and you never have to actually make it or sell it or whatever, but you have the design, you have the idea, you write it out and draw it in detail, and you submit it, and you pay for all the things, and you wait the 12 years or I don't know, whatever it is, and then you get the thing. You still own the patent for it. You don't actually have
That's
to
correct.
use it. Okay.
And that usually comes up in a case where some entity goes bankrupt and you buy the patent from somebody just because you want to have the ability to license. Again, beyond our discussion today.
Okay.
So what does a patent actually look like? So a patent has a cover page that has all of the administrative details, the title, the inventor, filing date, issue date, representative figure, things like that. You can learn a lot just by looking at the cover page of any U.S. patent. It has some figures, which that's pretty self-explanatory what those are.
The drawings?
Exactly.
Okay.
You only have to have one. Some people have 100, some have 2. It depends on the complexity of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then the text begins. And the text always starts with the background, and it's a little description of what was in the prior art, what have people done before, and it gives you lets you set the stage for how to differentiate what your invention is.
Okay.
Then there's a summary, which is a brief description, a little preview of what your invention is, and then the specification. Specification is the biggest part. It's a lot of text. It tends to be written in a very pedantic and obtuse way.
Really is.
And that's what I specialize in. That's what I do.
Pedantic and obtuse.
Yeah.
I remember with Covier's, we got rejected, not rejected, but there were notes a few times about the drawings, and it's like they're two pieces of fabric in a sort of 300-degree angle or whatever, like almost like a semicircle, but they wanted a top-down view and then a bottom-up view, and it's like, but it's a I don't understand. So you have to be super detailed. But I think also maybe general in a way that where you can kind of claim a certain swath of you know what I mean? Like, so somebody else doesn't come in and say, oh, well, we have something that's sort of similar, but you haven't properly defined what it is, so now we can do whatever we want to do.
That's exactly right. In the specifications where you say things like, well, it's a motorcycle, and in some embodiments it has 2 wheels, and some embodiments it might have more wheels, and so you always want to describe it as broadly as possible. You'll claim it maybe a little narrower, depending what the prior art is.
All right.
So the specification, essentially what they call the patent bargain, is you describe to people how to make your invention. That's the spec. And that's why you get 20 years of patent term from the date you file, is you've explained to people, here's how to do this cool new thing. You then have 20 years of exclusivity. And then after that 20 years, anybody can go and do that. So that's the idea behind that. So we talked about the claims. The claims are at the very end. They're numbered. You get 20 with your filing fee. And if you want to talk about arcane and obtuse, these things are essentially 200 years of legal precedent as to why you have to write these things in a way that seems like they dropped out of the sky from Venus.
Right.
If you're claiming your motorcycle, so you might have I write down, a vehicle comprising a rigid frame with at least 2 wheels rotatably coupled thereto.
Whoa. Wow. Whomst ever shall been. That's okay. All right. Okay.
Good effort.
Yeah.
Wherein at least one said wheel is inflatable, and at least one said wheel is composed of a rubber composite. So it's they're complicated. They're not always really easy to read. And
No, it sounds like you have to learn a different language.
It's almost like Latin. It's like the English version of Latin.
it's not unlike that.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the first year you're an associate at a law firm and you're doing this stuff. That's the thing, $1,000 on a single patent application. And then there's maintenance fees later on. So and then foreign filing. If they choose to file in, say, China to cover something for Shanghai Disneyland, or file in Japan.
Yeah.
So your U.S. life cycle cost can easily be $35,000, $40,000 or more. And if you file in multiple countries, you can easily hit 6 figures.
Okay.
So there has to be some sort of filter for deciding what to file and what not to file, even if you're Disney and you have essentially infinite money.
Yeah, right. Right.
So you're going to look at a few things. What's the likelihood you're ever actually going to do anything with that intellectual property?
Yeah.
Some Imagineer might have a great idea, might have a new salad spinner that's going to light the world on fire.
I love salad spinners. Can I just say
Well,
that?
doesn't.
So good.
They're amazing.
Until you've actually had a salad that's not soaking wet, and you don't know how great those things are.
Oh, you have no idea.
But odds are even Disneyland is not going to have much interest in something like that. So they'll probably take a pass on filing that.
Okay, because I was going to say, would they, considering they have unlimited money, would they just maybe apply for a patent that they know they're not going to use just to prevent somebody else in the theme park industry? Because
So-
I imagine that's super cutthroat. Are you going to ask
Are you
Terrence's
reading
question?
Terrence's? Go ahead.
So Terrence goes, he's in the chat room, by the way.
Oh, hi, Terrence.
He says, does Disneyland make their patents that they apply for so broad because they're not quite sure what they're going to do with the attraction, or to prevent others from doing anything remotely similar? The one that I read from Midway Mania mentioned projectiles being fired from the guns. That didn't happen, but have they prevented others from doing that?
Yeah, you want to accomplish both goals, right?
Yeah.
You don't always know when you file something. It can take 5 years. to go from a filing to issue. And you often file applications very early in the process. If you get excited about a project, you'll have some very early concepts and go file on those. Those concepts don't always make it to the time that a patent issues.
Okay.
And then also you want to make things as broad as possible to keep other people from practicing that. Going back to the salad spinner example, probably having the dry salad isn't the reason why you're going to Disneyland instead of Six Flags or Knott's Berry Farm.
Right.
So again,
Because
even
let's be honest, if the food was the reason we picked our parks, we'd be going to Knott's Berry Farm for the fried chicken.
can I confess something?
Yes.
I've been to Knott's Berry Farm before. I don't believe I've ever had the fried chicken.
Wow. Neither have I. So I was just trying to be
that
cool.
was just a dumb thing to say.
No, because
Have you ever had the Disneyland fried chicken?
No.
Yeah, because it's good.
Don't
But
think I
the
have.
Knott's Berry Farm fried chicken is to Knott's Berry Farm what the churro is to Disneyland.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Honestly, it is. Yeah. Sorry,
No.
Taryn, you're muted.
It's probably better that way.
I was dreaming.
And Terrence, I don't believe I've ever had a churro at Disneyland, which I need to remedy.
Okay, Brian is gone from the show now. He's at. I'll be here no more. That's in November. Promise me you're gonna have a churro, and not the janky like watermelon flavored churro from
No.
downtown Disney, but like
Ew.
the actual. Like go into the park, into Tomorrowland or whatever, and get a friggin' churro, man. What's wrong with you?
I may even take the churro challenge.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Please
do
do
it.
that.
You know,
But not the one
But
that
not-
Disney stole from us.
Yeah, no, our churro challenge.
Right.
well, I would never take any challenge.
You're
but
gonna pull
the
a
ears up.
Terrence.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's right. Okay, go ahead, please, Brian. Sorry.
So a few other reasons to apply for patents. Disney's going to look at, is something a blocking patent to something that another theme park or another company might be doing.
Okay.
Now these, generally you don't file something specifically for that reason, because down that path lies madness. Right? You don't know what everyone else is doing. You don't
Right.
have necessarily a lot of details. But if you think you have some information and you think you might be able to stop someone, you can file a blocking patent, and the advantage is you can go back later on and negotiate a license with someone and extract some value from that. It's
Okay.
not, in my view, generally a good reason to file anything.
Right.
Is it something that's better kept as a trade secret? Now, trade secret is kind of like a patent, except you don't have to pay any money for it. You just keep it secret. That sounds great, right? Because there's no term; it's indefinite, like the formula for Coca-Cola. It can last for hundreds of years,
Yeah.
and that's great. Except that NDAs aren't always followed by everyone. You don't always have a good control over your good a control over your IP as you think. And in 2018, when everybody has a cell phone with a camera, and people can get disgruntled. It becomes really difficult to keep things as trade secrets.
So like a trade secret, so if somebody breaks their NDA and gives the secret, then it's all over. I mean, there's no going back from that, really.
You can go back and try to recoup from someone that broke their NDA. But let's say you've got a multi-million-dollar trade secret, and somebody's making $80,000 a year, broke their NDA. What are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to garnish their wages? I mean, you can.
Yeah.
But that's more vindictive. You'll never get the money out.
And still your
Yeah.
secret's out.
Yeah.
So like if Coca-Cola's recipe got out, it's out.
Right. And where you people end up doing that is more SpaceX, notoriously, because they have total control end to end of everything, from the factory to the launch pad, and it never leaves their hands. Elon Musk famously declared that he doesn't file for patents on anything. He has no desire to teach the Chinese or anybody else how to go out and make it. But
Which
he's
is
kind
true,
of
which is valid.
and that's kind of what I said
yeah.
before, like the patent bargain, right? So the point is you do teach people how to make it, but you have those 20 years. But SpaceX is kind of uniquely positioned where they have that total end-to-end control. It's different from really anything Disney would be doing. And then kind of the last factor is, where are you going to file? And that comes down to, where are you going to use the invention, where are you going to manufacture the invention, where are your competitors going to manufacture or use the invention.
Okay.
So that's kind of the factors that Disney would look at.
Okay.
So
Which is
having-
all background, all good background
Yeah.
stuff for this.
Yeah. So having done all that, and probably spent a little bit more time than everybody probably would like, how do you search for patents? And I'm bringing this up because if you want to play along at home, and you're listening live, this might be a fun way to play along at home.
Yeah.
Or if you're listening later on, you can pause this and go check this out. Patents.google.com probably your best
Wow.
Really?
Patent.
bet. Patents.google.com.
Google, man.
Just
Telling
type
you.
in that number, or also you can go to an advanced search and just type in Disney for the assignee, and assignee is the fancy word for the owner.
Okay.
And then you can just pull up thousands of Disney patents and patent applications. USPTO.gov is the official government site, and it's good, but it's not as intuitive to use, and it doesn't let you generate PDFs automatically like Google does. So the patents.google.com is slightly more user friendly.
Weird. I would never have guessed that the government website, the government version of the thing is not good, and Google somehow made it better and easier for everybody to use.
Purportedly, the patent office is going to be rolling out new website, new interface this year.
Yeah.
And frankly, it terrifies me because I'm used to how it works,
Right.
and I'm old, and it's one of these things where like I've got it figured out already. No, it's cumbersome, but I know how to do it. Let's not do new stuff. So probably for everyone else, it'll be a little bit easier.
Your virtual lawn. Weren't you telling me when we were going through our patent stuff for Covers that the patent office is the only arm of the government that generates money?
It is about as far as I know, the only part of the federal government that raises more money than it spends.
Wow.
And that's because, it's pretty much pay as you go.
Yeah.
You file, you pay. You respond to office actions, you pay. You extend time to respond, you pay. You appeal, you pay. As probably as it should be. I mean, you're asking for a 20-year monopoly on something, and they're not going to give that to you for free.
Right.
True.
But it's probably... I couldn't tell you the numbers. Probably on the order of $1 billion a year surplus they generate.
Wow.
So it's not bad.
Okay.
I guess I'll take some of that money and upgrade that internet system.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Mm.
So Disney has what I'm going to talk about are a few patents that were some cool things I found, sort of some trends in technology over time,
Okay.
and kind of what Disney had an interest in any given time.
Perfect. And this is perfect stuff to talk about on the show because we like how Disney merges the tech but doesn't show you the tech.
Right.
They develop these rides and they develop these systems and they develop all this stuff, but you don't know what's happening. And I think to give a broader view of actually what's happening and that it's purposeful and driven and owned by Disney, I think is really cool. So anyway, sorry.
Oh, thank you. So the first Disney patent that I could find is US 1913048.
Okay.
It is a method and means for scoring motion pictures. It's filed in 1928, issued in 1933, which for the time was an exceptionally long time.
Yeah, right.
Back in the 20s, you'd file, and in a year or two, you would issue. And it was only my lack of desire to spend a few $100s for the file history is why I didn't go back and look into why that was. Because I was really curious what happened. That maybe at some point in the future, I'll just go ahead and grit my teeth and spend that money just because I'm curious. But for now, we're not doing that.
Right. That is strange because it's not like there were a bunch of existing drawings or any sort of existing patents that they might be infringing upon or whatever. It's not like today where I'm sure it's an exhaustive search of well, if you think about it, from all that almost 100 years from the 1920s. So
the volume is so much higher. Patent 10 million just issued
Wow.
this past Tuesday. And
do you know
it's
what you know what it was, don't you?
It was a Raytheon patent for, I believe, autonomous vehicles.
I knew you would know.
What's Raytheon?
It's a big company in Minneapolis.
Oh.
I read the press release.
Yeah,
But
like Harry Potter.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
You go to the patent office has like a website for this, and if you check, the time between every million patents just gets faster and faster and faster.
Okay.
Every million.
Wow.
9 million was only maybe 10 years ago. Less than 10 years
Wow.
ago. But to go from 0 to 1 million took over 100 years.
Yeah.
And from 1 million to 2 million was decades. So it just gets faster and faster. and part of it is just it's a much more global world we live in, and people invent things all over.
Yeah.
So people from wherever in the world will, what is to them foreign file in the U.S., so just the more filing that you have and the more filing you have in the U.S., the faster that curve goes up. So this was a very interesting patent to me. It's an analog method for synchronizing sound and motion for a, quote, cartoon picture So you would draw dots by hand in the sprocket area of the film to
Okay.
indicate beats. And it would allows the score to sync up with the motion. And what the patent says is it visually imparts to the musicians the required tempo. Now, I don't fully understand that, because if the dots are in the sprocket area,
How do they
least
see it when
Beverly
it's?
can see this. Here's some dots in the sprocket area. How are you seeing the sprocket area is specifically a thing that you don't see?
I wonder if it's maybe when the composer's writing. We need like Jeremy or James Bond to comment on it. Maybe it's when the
Yeah.
composer's doing the work. Maybe they're looking at the film so they can see. They can just see the dots, like the 24 frames or the 30 frames or whatever frame per second is animation, and then they can gauge off of that, and then run it through at full speed and see how it sounds. And I don't know. That's very interesting.
And the next one covers a little bit of that. But if Jeremy from Spectro, if you're in the chat room, please call in.
He's
Isn't
probably
he in like Europe or
he's-
something?
he's on.
He's gallivanting somewhere.
I think he's flying to the moon right now, doing jock stuff.
He's a total jock right now.
So what I thought was interesting is Roy was born in 1893. So I didn't realize how
Wow.
old Roy Disney was. So he was 40 when this issued. It issued in 33. Snow White was in 37. So you could tell they were kind of thinking ahead a little bit about how do we sync up the sound and the animation. Because
Yeah.
Snow White,
yeah.
like the songs, they're right on.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, it's not like some slop from TV from even the 70s where nobody cared and there was no
Right.
real. This is real synchronizations. They were thinking about that
Yeah. Animation on beats of the music and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So another Walt Disney's first patent.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wonder if it also helps the animators also to draw on
No
the
doubt.
beats to make sure that the bird lands on the upbeat or whatever, right? I wonder if it's more for that. I wonder if they
It's
have
entirely possible.
I wonder if they have the composing the piece, and then they put the dots for the animated. But that would make sense because it needs to be on the anyway.
There's
that's
no
where I'm
reason you
going.
couldn't go.
You couldn't
kind of
go the other way.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
So Walt Disney's first patent is related to this similar technology. It was issued the same year in 1933, but it was filed in 31. And co-inventors were Wilfred Jackson and William Garrity. William Garrity is a Disney legend. He invented a couple of other things, which we'll talk about in a moment. It's worth looking at his Wikipedia page. Last name is Garrity, Garity, because there's a link in his Wikipedia page for a article in Journal of Society of Motion Picture Engineers about experiences in road showing Walt Disney's Fantasia, where he's got a photo of all this equipment set up in the historic Carthay Circle Theater in Hollywood,
Oh, there you go.
which I never knew was like a real place. I just assumed it was a Disney place. So
Yeah.
if you like Carthay, his Wikipedia page is fascinating. So this is Walt Disney, Wilfred Jackson, William Garrity. It's patent 1941341. Method and apparatus for synchronizing photoplays. Figure 3 is fun. It's got Mickey Mouse playing the piano. It's round-eyed and not pie-eyed Mickey. Just FYI,
Interesting.
kind of like the patent for the toilet paper, where it shows that it should come down from the top. That should stop all arguments. Really, any argument about round
really?
versus pie-eyed Mickey, go back. What did Walt patent? Have in his patent application. He had round-eyed Mickey. Thank you.
Interesting.
There's round-eyed Mickey.
All right. But that could also be like the special edition of Star Wars, where Lucas thinks that that's the superior,
Oh,
even though
that's
everybody knows that
true.
it's not.
The what? The what edition of Star Wars?
It's a internet. It's a creepypasta I read on
yeah,
Reddit.
it's
it was weird.
it's like Alien 3. It's a thing people talk about. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Like Indiana Jones, the last one.
The Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't happen.
Never saw
I
it.
like that.
Oh God, Schar.
My daughter loves that too. So we actually like that one quite a bit. So
All right, go ahead.
sorry. We all like different things. This has similar dots as the previous patent in the sprocket area, but this is an invention that includes a photocell which detects the location and then detects the tempo. So this is the kind of the second part of this. So the first invention was sort of figuring out how to encode the tempo, and this
Right.
backs out that encoding into something useful. So this is hilarious. The tempo is communicated to musicians by headphones, flashing lights, or a solenoid that would, quote, strike the musician. It's like, now! I don't know where it would strike the musician or how. Strike the floor, you dummy! I don't. It's just such a hilarious
Hit him
thing.
in the butt on the seat. Yeah.
Were they mad at the musicians at this time? I don't understand what that's all about.
What year was it?
This was also issued 1933.
Is it me, or did anybody else find it weird that there were headphones in 1933? I think that's weird. I don't know why.
I hadn't thought about that, but it's a good point. I'm sure they were big and clunky.
Yeah.
It's just
Heavy.
literally two speakers attached with a ribbon.
Let me tie these on!
Sit between them. You know, they don't really attach.
No.
So, fun trivia nobody cares about but me. This was filed by the old law firm of Lion & Lion, which I was an associate at when I first started
Really?
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Wow.
it was in the lobby of the firm in downtown L.A., there were big plaques of these famous patents because we had done some Walt Disney patents back in the day. Hedy Lamar's spread spectrum, World War II thing.
That's Headley.
It was actually Hedy Lamar, the actress. We did, I think, a Wright
Blazing
Brothers
Saddles.
thing. So it was all
Oh,
these
wow.
kind of cool things that had, and sadly the firm is no longer